Hi there, everyone. It's Gloria with Glory Be Resale, and I'm a little stuffy today, so sorry if my voice is really off, but it's just my allergies kicking in. So I'm here to do a what's sold from January 12th to the 18th of January, and this is on eBay, Poshmark, and Etsy. So the first thing to sell on eBay was this vintage wine-themed French apothecary, a little spice box drawers, and this is something I picked up at a yard sale last summer. It sold for $35.20, and the cost to me on it was $3. The next item to sell was this women's Talbot's palm print long sleeve linen blouse. And this sold for $24.65. Cost to me on it was $6.49. The next item to sell was this vintage 60s kitschy cowboy and girl kissing. And they had the magnetic lips, so they automatically pulled together when they got close. But there were also bobbleheads too, so these I picked up at a yard sale for $1. And the cost to me what they sold for was $19. I'm sorry, what those sold for was $16.15, and the cost to me was $1. Next item to sell was this very cool, definitely 90s. Would have definitely saw this at the St. Patty's Day parade in Southie. Um, I just remember I had a couple of similar things for my kids when they were that age. Anyway, this is a vintage 90s emerald dialed St. Patrick's Day shamrock acrylic sweater, and it sold for $39. Cost to me on it was $6.49. The next item to sell was this vintage, I guess again would be 90s Nordic track gray black track jogging suit for men, and this sold for $25. The cost to me on it was $1. Next item to sell was this vintage hand knotted Bucara prayer rug, and this sold for $63.75, and the cost to me on it was $5. I'm gonna guess I bought that at a yard sale. Next item was this Busy Acres in Massachusetts, tree farm, tree farm guide that from the, I'd say, 50s, 60s. And this sold for $14.84, and the cost to me on it, no more than $1, probably less. It was definitely in a pile of stuff that I had got from a yard sale. Next thing to sell was this American Angel black floral maxi dress, sleeveless, and this sold for $27, and the cost to me on it was $5.99. Next item to sell was this Punxsutawney Country Club sweatshirt, and this sold for $25. Cost to me was $6.49. Time to move that out, right? Today is Groundhog Day right now when I'm recording. And he did see his shadow, so 6 more weeks of winter. Next item was the state of New Jersey law enforcement em- explorer ball cap, and this sold for $10. Cost me on it was 50 cents. Next item was this Free People's uh, blue black dress, and this sold for $20. Cost me would probably have been $7.99 because this is from Boston. Uh, Very small size, I guess. It took forever, so I was happy to take $20 and get my money back and a little bit more. Buy something better. And the last thing to sell over on Poshmark was this vintage 70s three-piece leisure suit. And this sold for $25, and the cost to me on it was $3. And that was it for Poshmark, so I only sold 3 items. I'm very much losing interest in Poshmark because last year it seemed to be on, 2024 seemed to be my best year on it, and it got really strong. And then this 2025, terrible. So, I'm just losing interest in dealing with Poshmark. I don't know how long. Uh, I will try Etsy now over there. The first thing to sell on Etsy, and now, first thing to sell on Etsy was this uh, vintage blue ivory floral reversible carriage blanket in wool, and this was kind of a thin blanket for the carriage. This sold for $39, and the cost to me on it was, oh, wait a second, it sold for 35.10. So I think I said 10% off or something. So it sold for $35.10, and the cost to me on it was $12. The next item to sell was this lot of 3 bunnies, chocolate look bunnies for Easter, and this sold for $17. Cost to me on it was $2. The next item was this country farmhouse wood cutout little shelf. It's a small shelf there at the bottom, right under the heart. And this sold for $18, and the cost to me on it was $1. And next item to sell was this lot of 7 drop holes, and these sold for $20. Cost to me on them about $2. They came in a box lot of hardware a while ago. Next item to sell was this lot of 3 vintage framed floral pictures, and these sold for $65. Cost to me on them was $15. Next item to sell was this fleur de lis. This was a freestanding wood one, and this one sold for $38. And I didn't have this very long before it sold. This sold pretty quickly. And the cost to me on it was $6. Next item to sell was this rolling pin. It's a vintage uh, antiques hand turned rolling pin. Had a crack in the one of the handles. Primitive style, and this sold for $29. Cost to me on it was $4. Next item to sell was this Blue Star teapot, and this sold for $39, and the cost to me on it was $6.99. Next item to sell was this hand-painted cottagecore country style house. This was something that hung on the wall. Big little hole there. And anyway, this sold for $20. Cost me on it was $2.99. I think I still have two or three more of these. I bought a bunch at the same time. Next item to sell was this vintage hand-carved wooden mask with a jaguar on top. This sold for $39, and the cost to me on it was $4.99. Next item to sell was this patchwork vest, and this sold for $25, and the cost to me on it was $3.99. And the last item to sell was this vintage lot of roller skate keys on a little leather string, rusted and so forth, and these sold for $18, and the cost to me on them was $4. And that was everything that I sold on the week of January 12th to the 18th. If you wouldn't mind giving me a like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. It helps with my enthusiasm to keep making these videos. So please give me a like and subscribe. And I will see you next time. If you would like to share with me something that you've sold that was a good price or whatever, or you were surprised at, feel free to put it in the comments. I'd love to share it. And I will see you next time. Thanks. Goodbye.